Over Facts podcast is sponsored by our Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/Feelings Over Facts podcast and give us a subscribe. We are going to start reading out all of our Patreon followers live on our podcast. So give us some support there, and thank you. Welcome into the Feelings Over Facts podcast. I'm your co-host, Zach Simmons, here with my co-host, Daniel Jones, a.k.a. DJ. DJ, how are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. It is getting hot out there.
It is indeed. It's getting hot here in Arizona, and things were heating up at the NFL draft as well. What has happened since the last time that we have had our podcast. Our mock drafts turned out pretty well. We nailed a lot of picks for sure. So that was very exciting. So yeah, we're gonna be giving a little draft recap today on today's show. But before we get started, if you are not yet subscribed to the Feelings Over Facts YouTube, head over there and give us a subscribe and join the live chat. We interact with anyone who joins the live chat during our podcast. You can ask us questions as well as give us your comments, as well as we have now started a Patreon. We have now created a way for our lovely viewers to support the podcast. So head over there to Patreon. The link is in the YouTube description, and support us on Patreon. We will read anyone's name that joins the Patreon live on our podcast. And finally, head over to our Instagram and our TikTok and give us a follow. We post lots of shorts on those that have lots of fun content within those, which are a great time. All right. So getting that out of the way up top. Lots has happened since we last had our episode. But first, DJ, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with what missed today's show. What missed today's show? Ezekiel Elliott is returning to the Dallas Cowboys. So glad to see Zeke back with the blue and silver. Thankfully, his last play will not be him getting pancaked as a center for the Dallas Cowboys. He'll actually get to run the ball again, probably. So excited to see that. Also, what missed the show? The Miami Dolphins owner has rejected a $10 billion offer for the Miami Dolphins and combined with Formula One Miami. So crazy to see that much money being offered for professional sports teams nowadays. And lastly, last night at Citi Field was the Mets annual dollar hot dog night, and nearly 50,000 hot dogs were eaten at Citi Field last night for the New York Mets. So the only thing good going on in the Mets stadium nowadays. But yeah, so that is what missed today's show. During a baseball game, DJ, how many dollar hot dogs do you think you could eat during one game?
One or two.
I think I could at least I could throw down 4.
I can throw down that many. I don't want to.
That's probably valid. I wonder what the smell of that stadium was like last night after dollar hot dog night. All right. Can't imagine they were quality hot dogs. But what is even a quality hot dog? So, all right. Let's get into our show today, DJ. All right, so the NFL draft happened last week. Lots of players were selected, joining the NFL. The biggest storyline from the NFL draft had to be the Atlanta Falcons at the 8th spot, selecting quarterback Michael Penix after giving Kirk Cousins was $150 million 4-year contract. So that's kind of what I wanted us to lead off the show, DJ, with is what is it that the Falcons are doing with drafting Michael Penix? And give your thoughts. Do you think this was a dumb move? Do you think this was good? What do you think?
Well, it definitely raised a lot of eyebrows. That's for sure on this move. Really, I mean, I had Michael Penix as a first-round quarterback. A little bit later, not in that upper echelon, but also knew that quarterback was going to go a lot faster than most years, just based on what we've heard pre-draft talk. Also, definitely didn't think he'd be the fourth quarterback taken off. I definitely thought that was going to be JJ probably was going to be the fourth quarterback taken.
Yeah.
So that was a little surprising. Two, I mean, I don't think anybody could have told me before the draft that Atlanta was going to be the team that was going to take a shot at Penix. This move is, I'm not going to say bad because we don't know what Michael Penix is going to be in the NFL. So it's not fair to the young man that we throw him across and be like, oh, you're going to be terrible. Why'd you take this pick? Because honestly, no one knows. I think the big thing is, how is this going to make Kurt feel after you just gave him a bag? And why aren't you trying to get him immediate help right now? Now, if you really believe in Michael Penix, then fine. You made a decision. You pulled your trigger. You got your guy. Maybe he was your number 2 quarterback. He dropped all the way there. You had to take him. There's other needs that the Atlanta Falcons needed that I think fans and most analysts would have prioritized over getting a quarterback of the future. Mike says in the YouTube chat, Achilles is a hard injury to come back from. That's a fair point, honestly. So, Kurt may not even be 100% this year. So Michael Penix might be able to play a little bit more this year than we believe to as of right now. So I don't think it was a bad pick. I think it's just, it kind of came out of left field because I don't think fans saw it. And when that happens, they tend to get a little irritated, acting like they know the future, acting like they think that they just know.
GMs.
Yeah, exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. I sometimes do that. We have friends that sometimes do that. This is why you have to play the game. I don't think it was a bad pick. I like Michael Penix Jr. If I was Atlanta, though, I think you probably could have got him by trading back a couple picks and then letting Minnesota come and get JJ, because you knew that JJ was going to get picked beforehand, and then the only team that you probably needed to get ahead of was the Raiders.
Yeah,
that's what I would have done. But if you don't get the call, you can't really move back.
Right, exactly. So there's surprisingly a lot of ways to look at this, a lot of different angles for this. So one of them is the one that Mike just highlighted in the YouTube chat. Maybe Kirk's Achilles is worse than Atlanta thought whenever they gave him this, whenever they brought him in. But if that's the case, then you need to fire your entire medical department. You cannot give a quarterback $150 million 4-year contract and his Achilles injury is worse than you thought. And then you have to draft a quarterback in the first round. So that's an A angle, not particularly the angle that I think is correct. Another angle would be, this is more of the tinfoil hat angle, which is that there's been some speculation in the media and some reporting by big time reporters like Adam Schefter that there was some tampering going on with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings and the Falcons. So they think that maybe that a ruling could come down that potentially his contract gets voided or something like that. That's more of a tinfoil hat angle reason that they could have taken Penix. Well, I think that the real reason is that the Atlanta Falcons plan on playing football further than 2 years from now. It's kind of how they see it. Now, maybe Michael Penix wasn't the best quarterback to go for that because he is kind of an older quarterback coming out of college. I think he's already 24. Like he's one of the older guys coming out by if at the minimum, Kirk with this deal, before they have to eat a bunch of dead cap, has to play at least 2 years. And that's another reason why I don't think that they knew this plan. They did not have this plan whenever they signed Kirk Cousins, or they would have set up his contract differently. His contract is not like all the money at the front, and then you can just kind of like eat a little bit later. His contract's pretty even throughout if you really look at it. So that's why I strongly think that the Falcons did not have this plan when they brought in Kirk Cousins, and they just are kind of making it up as they go. It really seems like they plan on playing football further than 2 years from now, and they want to have a contingency whenever Kirk is done. But the problem with that is that you brought in Kirk Cousins because ideally you want to compete. You want to be in some. I mean, you have some young, what you think are stars with Drake London, with Bijan Robinson. Hopefully, Kirk can bring out a different side of Kyle Pitts. You have a roster that you feel like is competing, and bringing in Kirk Cousins, a veteran quarterback who can facilitate that, is what I thought their mindset was. And then drafting a first-round quarterback is not in direct comparison with that. Ideally, you would take, I would think, at their position, they had the chance to take their number one defensive player on their board. No defensive players have been taken. They could have taken an elite level edge rusher. They could have taken Dallas Turner. They could have taken a Lulu, a Tutu. What I haven't got his name down yet. A Latu, yes. They could have taken whatever pass rusher they wanted to. So there's a lot of different angles to look at this. But my opinion and my feeling is that the Falcons really just don't know what they're doing. So that's kind of where I've landed. I don't necessarily hate the pick of Michael Penix. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I just don't fully understand the pick, I guess, is kind of
another thing I didn't like is kind of what the GM was saying, or was it the head coach, that he could see Michael Penix not playing until like 4 or 5 years down the line. He'll be around 30, and it'll be his first snaps in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you used a first round pick on him for that. Like, it's just me. I don't know. I mean, generally, whenever I want to have a first round pick, I want him to make a difference pretty fast, or if not, like at least wait a year or two. So if it's like a 2-year wait, then all right, fair enough. But like if it's really like 4 or 5 years, you're going to give him a second contract before he even gets to get on the field, and it's worth it. Like,
yeah, and you don't get the benefit of what we see a lot of teams doing right now is kind of stacking their roster in other places besides quarterback, because they don't have to pay the quarterback yet. Like if you brought Michael Penix in this year, like if you didn't bring Kirk in and you just drafted Michael Penix as he's going to start rookie quarterback. You have a quarterback that's on a very cheap deal, and you can use the money that you gave Kirk, and then other draft picks to build up a team around him and bring in other free agents with that money to have a great roster surrounding a quarterback on a rookie deal, which is what we see a lot of teams do that have success. Like the Texans are having success with that right now. We saw the Chiefs win a Super Bowl with that model. So it's very confusing from mostly a financial standpoint. I guess I get it from a football standpoint of wanting to bring in a young quarterback to learn under a veteran. I probably picked one. I would have decided between if we want to, start over with Michael Penix, or if we want to try to compete with Kirk Cousins. They're going to try to do both, and I really just don't think it's going to work out for them. So that's kind of where I've landed on that draft pick. All right. So moving right along, DJ, a popular topic within the post-draft specter is a lot of people think they know who won the draft per se. Hard, in my opinion, really hard to know that before we actually see any of these players know. But that being said, who would you say won the draft?
Well, the way too early, like just looking at it on paper and seeing who has done what, and if I like it, I think I'll have to say that I like Washington's draft as one of the highest ones. Personally, I think that if you just look at their draft, I think they did a very, very good job overall at overhauling this roster. One, they got the quarterback of the future and Jalen Daniels. Second round, they went and got Newton from Illinois, who I had as a first round grade and thought that was a solid player. And then they kept just adding some solid players around. Honestly, obviously in the later rounds, you don't know exactly what you have like you're supposed to with the first couple rounds. But you got 2 first round quality players in a good spot. I mean, you're gonna if they hit, you're gonna succeed. So I like what I've seen out of the Washington Commanders draft right now. I think that if you're a Commanders fan, that the feeling's high, you're feeling really good about yourself, you're in a good spot. Now, how important is Jalen Daniels to that feeling? Major. He's gonna have to hit for you to have any kind of say of, oh, this is a great draft. I think that Jalen Daniels has the talent. I think that this is a good quarterback draft.
Louis Riddick during the draft said he was his number 1 quarterback,
and that's fair. And you know what? I mean, just look at the stats he put up in college. The guy just knows how to play some offensive football. So I don't hate Jalen Daniels at all. In fact, I have him in our fantasy league. Let's go. Massive fan of his. Guy puts up stats. Just keep him healthy. Let him throw the weapons that you have in Washington, and I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I like Jaden Daniels as well. I mean, we have 4 teams: the Bears, Commanders, Patriots, and Broncos that have a very clear direction. We just drafted a first round rookie quarterback, and that we are going to try to build around. Now, that can be very successful, and that can also really hurt your franchise. You could spend the next half decade of a franchise, theoretically, figuring out if this guy is good, coming to that conclusion, and then figuring out how you're going to move on from him. So if you draft a first-round rookie quarterback, they're planning on playing day one, you're looking at 5 years of this guy either impacting your franchise in a positive or negative way. And we have 4 teams that from this draft, I think, are in that situation. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see. But like you said, and I agree with you, I like Jane Daniels way as well. The team that I said won the draft, and this is purely from a first round perspective, for my take, is the Chicago Bears. I really like Caleb Williams. I genuinely think he's going to be a star in the NFL. We very rarely see a no doubt number 1 pick not live up to the expectations that are set for them and not be at least good. And I think he has the ceiling to be great. I mean, the worst, I'm thinking of no doubt number 1 quarterbacks. Andrew Luck is one of them. I would say barring injury, he panned out and he lived up to expectations. He made it to the playoffs and went up around every single year of his career, ending with the Deflategate game with the Patriots, where they got crushed, and then he retired soon after that. But he was a no doubt number 1 pick, and I would say he lived up to expectations. The one that I think is debatable at the moment is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was another no doubt number 1 pick. And at the moment, it's looking a little bit sus, as I would say, if he's going to live up to expectations. But he has won a playoff game. He was in the AFC Championship in year 3. He has put up. I mean, look at last year for Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to make this as much a Trevor Lawrence debate as like getting off of Caleb Williams, but I'm just saying, what I'm trying to say is that quarterbacks that are no doubt number 1s, like Caleb is, usually pan out and be pretty good. So that's why I think Caleb Williams is going to be pretty good. And then I love the Odunze pick. I love the idea of bringing in a rookie receiver, like an elite level star rookie receiver, and pairing him with a rookie quarterback so that they can kind of grow together. I think this could be another situation like we saw with. I know that they weren't in the same draft class, but Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they kind of were brought in around the same time, have kind of grown together, and they're an elite quarterback receiver pairing. I think that is a situation that we could see with Odunze and Caleb Williams. I think in like 5 years, we look back at this draft of the Caleb and Odunze first top 10 picks for the Bears and say that's the draft where they turned their franchise around. I think that they have the ceiling to be able to do that in a weak NFC. I think that this team could be competing for Super Bowls within the next 5 years. I don't think that that's that hot of a take to say with the ceiling that Caleb Williams has. So that's who I have winning the draft is the Chicago Bears. Thoughts on that?
I mean, that's fair. It kind of helps when you have multiple first rounders, so it makes
Nick
you feel a little bit better.
In the chat saying overrated to me talking about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was in first place in the AFC going into week 9. He was playing a game to be first place in the AFC, and then he got hurt, and he was hurt the rest of the season. He played off and on and was bad because he was injured. But that is unrefutable that he was going into a game in week 9 of last season to be first place in the AFC, and then he got injured. And then he played injured the rest of the season. So I'm not going to knock Trevor Lawrence for that.
I don't think he's as good as people give him credit for.
I will see that he has not lived up to the no doubt number 1 pick status that some of the other ones have, for sure. At least not yet. I think he still has a chance too. Okay, moving on. DJ, we've talked about who we think has won the draft. In your opinion, who would you say lost the draft? Or maybe you just didn't understand their picks, or you just didn't like their picks.
I mean, I can go on a list here. Pretty much just throw in Minnesota and Denver into that conversation because I don't know what the hell you're thinking about taking J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix in the first round anyway. But no, I'm going to stick with what we were talking about earlier with the Falcons. And it's not just Michael Penix Jr. the pick. I mean, we kind of went through what we thought and, our thoughts on that. My biggest thing is that their next couple of picks, I felt like it was just, I like Tice and I like what's his name? Brandon Dorless, the guy, the pass rusher out of Oregon. Those guys, they're decent football players. They didn't have the elite, elite status of being like one of those great athletes that can, but the production's there. That's not the pick. Their second pick, the guy out of Clemson, this Rook guy, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try to. They said that it was kind of a stretch and that he was he has the athletic intangibles, but just didn't do enough, productivity. That would be kind of a red flag for me if I'm a fan. Looking at it, you need defensive help and you need it now. I think the offense is fine, especially if Kurt plays to what his standard is, or if Kurt doesn't play because he's hurt or is recovering, you at least have a rookie quarterback to take a spot, especially since you got rid of Des Ridder.
Yeah.
So it kind of, like I said, Michael Penix thing aside, I didn't love that second pick. And with how you handled the Cousins and Penix situation on top of the second round pick, kind of seems like a little bit of a risk that you didn't need to take. Now, like I said, I like the Trice pick and I like like those two guys know how to play football. You see it on tape, they have production. Can that translate over to the league? This is what we're trying to decide before training camp in May and figuring that out. But yeah, I'm going to go with Atlanta with the loss to draft. Now they can 100% win this draft by everybody working out and shutting up all the critics and the haters and so on and so forth. But right now I have Atlanta.
Yeah, I got you. I like it. I just want to know what Atlanta thought their ideal situation with this Bo Nix pick is. They're wanting to compete with Kirk. So you win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins this year or next year, and then you cut him, and then you want to play your young guy. I don't understand. I just don't understand, I guess. My opinion, who lost the draft? I'm going to take it a little bit of a different direction than just the team. Who lost this draft is defensive players. A defensive player was not taken in this draft until the Colts drafted I'm going to butcher his name every single time I say it until I memorize it. Alatu at pick 16, I believe it was. There was the first 15 picks of the draft were offensive players. And that's bad for defensive players moving forward. If that trend continues and it begins to increase, if there's just less and less defensive players taking in the first round, we're going to see defensive players starting. I mean, I'm going to get super big picture here for just a second. We're going to see defensive players start making less money because they're not going to be first round draft picks. It's not going to be at that valued as a position. We're going to see the players not getting paid as much on the defensive side. We're going to see the better and better athletes starting to be on the offensive side of the ball. It's just going to get bad if we start to not if we stop prioritizing the defensive side of the ball. And I mean, I love watching a really good defensive battle, honestly, in the NFL. I know that from a marketing standpoint, people that market the NFL would disagree with me that the most watched games are the high scoring ones. But personally, in my opinion, I love watching like a defensive battle where it feels like more of like a chess match of trying to score points. So that was really a bummer to me, is seeing that the NFL is starting to prioritize offense vastly more than they are defense. Or maybe this was just a year where it was just a very heavy top-sided offensive first round. I don't know.
I think that's more of what it is. I don't think you need to hit the doomsday button on the defensive side of the ball just yet. I think that this draft was quarterback, receiver, and tackle heavy. And two of those positions was very high heavy, like very top pick heavy. So of course that was going to kind of lean more offensive because of that. Now, defense could have another great year next year coming out. We don't know, but like I said, as of right now, the super way too soon mock drafts, they have a pass rusher going number 1 overall out of Tennessee. So like, I think that it's just a this year kind of thing. I don't think we need to worry about defensive players not getting paid as much. I think that high-end pass rushers and high-end corners still going to get the bag. Let's hit the brakes on the doomsday for the defense there a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this was just a one-off or if this starts to be a trend.
Nick said taking Rook over Newton was confusing to him as well on my take about the Falcons. So I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name because I'm going to butcher it.
Arohoro, I don't know, something like that. All right, so that is our Who Lost the Draft segment. Let's move on to our final draft recap segment, and that is our favorite rookie landing spots that we saw. So DJ, take it away. Who was your favorite rookie, or you could do a few of your favorite rookie landing spots?
Well, kind of looking back, I think the Quinyon Mitchell pick for the Eagles was fantastic. I think that you couldn't have asked for a better slide, a better player for your team to pick, especially when your back end of the defense was so bad last year in Philly. It was kind of a match made in heaven. I think he was the best corner in the draft, and that's not an accident. And I think that they definitely needed that player. He kind of completes a need and also a good player in the same time.
I have a Howie Roseman take once you finish this.
Okay. Fashanu for the Jets. I think that makes a lot of sense. You got to keep Aaron Rodgers upright, and I think that he was like the third best tackle coming out, and like out of all the tackles, now no matter which position, and it made a whole lot of sense for them to try and keeping him upright. For me personally on that one, still looking back on some more, I love. I didn't really talk about it, but like the first like 2 picks for the Rams, Verse and Fisk. I know we're talking about, like, I love that.
Yeah.
They got 2 college teammates that played really well together to kind of try and reproduce what they had with
Aaron Donald.
Now they're not going to get the same product or productivity with him, but I like that pick a lot. I like those 2 picks a lot. I'm going to hate myself for having to say it. Adonai Mitchell and Latu going to the Colts. I think that they took best player available when it fell to them, and they didn't miss. That was a great pick for them both, honestly. So I think both of those people are going to be big time playmakers. And that's all I'll say right now. Those are some of the guys I just really liked coming out, and was very interested to see where they're going to go. Because, as a fan of one team, you want a bunch of prospects to go to you at certain spots, but you know that it won't happen because it's physically impossible for you to get every player you want. So,
Yeah, that's true.
big fan. Also, last one, big fan of Xavier Legette. Love that Carolina finally got a big boy receiver for Bryce. It won't help him trying to drop back at all, but they at least got a big boy, receiver. Oh, Darius
South
Robinson.
Carolina guy.
Big Darius Robinson is out of Missouri. I was hoping he would drop to the Titans in the second round, but he didn't. He went in the first round, and it made a lot of sense. He kind of shot up the boards. He had a lot of productivity. He was a great guy coming out of the draft process, and I think he's going to have a very good career.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, my Howie Roseman take before I give my favorite rookie landing spot. I have the belief, especially after seeing this year's draft, that Howie Roseman is very in tune with the media's big board of who they feel like is supposed to be drafted where they are. And I think that anytime a player is falling where the media thinks that they should have been taken, that Howie Roseman scoops them up so that everyone in the media can kind of gloat Howie Roseman and talk about how, oh my gosh, they did it again. They got the guy who fell. Where in reality, he's falling for a reason. If he was if the entirety of the NFL viewed him as so good, he wouldn't be falling. So I have a feeling like if you look back on like Nolan Smith falling last year's draft, he didn't really have that great of a rookie season. If you go and you look at his stats, that was a player that fell, and he did the same thing with DeJean and honestly Mitchell this year's draft. So that's kind of my take on Howie Roseman. Is he really wants everyone to feel like he won the draft with grabbing the player that's falling, but in reality, I don't think that NFL front offices and GMs look at the media's like Todd McShay's big board and draft according to that. So that's my Howie Roseman.
Well, here's the thing about your take that I disagree with is that every pick that he has had that has done that has been a need they needed. So like, yeah, sure, that might be well in on what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't think like he's just like, oh, Mel Kiper has this guy as his best available. Well, we gotta take him right now. Let's do it. Bring it up. Like, let's go.
A lot of times it seems like that's what happens. So,
I mean, but here's the thing: like, every single time it's kind of worked, hadn't it?
I mean, it took Nolan Smith last year in the first round. He wasn't really that good last year. Their
No
only good rookie last year was Carter,
who was supposed to be the number one pick or the best rookie in the draft, and they dropped it. He dropped to them. So, like, why not take him? Why not take a chance?
Yeah, I'm just saying that's my Howie Roseman take.
Okay.
Free take for you viewers. Okay. My favorite rookie landing spot is Bo Nix to the Denver Broncos. Don't roll your eyes at me. I'm not saying I believe Bo Nix is going to be a star. That I'm not even saying that I think that they should have taken him where they did, as high as they did. I'm saying from a purely like Bo Nix being successful standpoint, I think this is a really good landing spot for him. Being able to, and I kind of gave this take whenever I was doing our mock draft, whenever I correctly mock draft Bo Nix to the Denver Broncos in the first round.
He shouldn't have even been a first round guy. Ridiculous.
Possibly not, but I really like this landing spot for Bo Nix. I think pairing him with a head coach like Sean Payton that has been very outspoken about wanting to be successful. He has no intention on, being bad to get any kind of draft capital or anything like that, which is good because they don't have any draft picks because they gave them all. They gave them all away for the Russell Wilson trade. So that's good. But being able to pair with him with Sean Payton, a guy who has shown that he can get the most out of quarterbacks, being able to make make Drew Brees successful. Obviously, Drew Brees is a very good quarterback in its own right, but being able to get the most out of a quarterback that doesn't have the most physically gifted traits. Drew Brees was not a guy that coming out, everyone was wowed by his athleticism or his arm strength. He was just in Sean Payton's system, and he was able to be extremely successful and elite within that system. And I think that Bo Nix has a shot to not be Drew Brees, obviously, but to be successful within this system. I think that the Broncos had a good draft around him, and I quite like this landing spot for him. Does he have the upside of some of the other rookie quarterbacks, like Jaden Daniels, like Caleb Williams? No, obviously not. He doesn't have the talent as those guys do, and for looking at it, not the talent around him. I mean, they still have Courtland Sutton, who's going to be pretty good. I do like Mims, the rookie they drafted last year. He's pretty decent. So they do have some people around him that could help him out. They have a good running back room, not a great running back room, but Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine are a running back room that can get the job done. And I think this is a good spot for Bo Nix. Like, I don't hate the pick. Maybe I don't like that they drafted him as early as they did, because I feel like they could have gotten him later. But we'll see how it goes. I like it. Nick says in the chat, in terms of best landing spots, could say his teammate that fell to the 4th round that Bo gets to continue to throw to. Troy Franklin. In my mock draft, I had him as a 1st-round receiver, and he fell to the 4th round. So that's one of those guys that, if we're going off my Howie Roseman take, feels like an Eagle, honestly. A guy that was mocked to go in the 1st round that fell to the 4th feels like the Eagles would have scooped him up, and everybody would be like, oh, Howie. But, that's a good – if Troy Franklin pans out to the talent that everyone was predicting in the media to, then that was an absolute steal getting him in the 4th round. So that's my best landing spot.
Fair enough.
But all right, so that is our draft recap for the 2024 NFL draft. Any more draft takes, DJ? You've been sitting on that you want to get out there.
No,
give me your JC Latham to the Titans take on the spot. What's your thoughts on it?
So sitting there thinking about it at first, whenever they first took him, I thought we were going to keep him on the right side, and I was just like, all right, so why are we taking a right tackle at pick 7? Kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. We kind of need a left tackle. We need both tackles, honestly. Let's be honest here. But
yeah,
I thought we needed to prioritize left tackle in general. So whenever Alt went off the board, I was like, all right, well, let's trade back. Let's get some picks back. Maybe take like Fashanu later on. I think he'll still be there, so like we can still do that.
Yeah,
we took JC Latham, and at first I was just like, okay, I watched a lot of this guy. I'm an Alabama fan. Our line had some moments of bad, really bad. Yeah. So what are we doing? This is interesting. I know he's a big boy. I know he's great run stop. But guy has some talent. He's a big boy. We need a big guy. This is kind of what their whole offseason plan was, to get some big boys on that offensive line and let Bill Callahan go to work. When I heard that we're moving him to left, I started to like it a little better, because he has been left tackle before in his life. This won't be the first time he's been over on that side. It feels a need, and I do think he was the 2nd best tackle in the draft. So,
yeah. I mean, you went first in back-to-back years, 1st round, left side of your offensive line, Skoronski, Latham. That blind side of Levis, if both these picks panned out, should be pretty secure. I would think he should have some time in the pocket, nothing coming from his opposite side to hit him. So if both those picks pan out, it could be really big to shore up your offensive line for a quarterback that they obviously believe in. So I don't hate it. They have a great offensive line coach who knows how to scout offensive linemen. So,
and he said this is his favorite tackle in the draft. So,
which I wish that if that was his favorite tackle, I wish that the Chargers didn't take Alt, so it got to their pick and they took Latham over Alt. Then all the Titans fans would have been so upset. Oh man, it would have been so funny. I wish the Chargers didn't take all just for that reason in particular, because they had him number one on their tackle board. If they would have taken Latham over Alt, everybody would have freaked out.
Yeah.
That would have been something. Nick in the chat says, screw draft talk. Tyler Boyd to the Titans. Not confirmed, but it's going to happen. I'm not so sure it's going to happen, but we shall see. I don't hate it if it does happen. He's proved that he could be a good slot with the Bengals, but I'm not so sure that he wants to be another. He wants to go from being third option in the Bengals to being third option on the Titans. I'm not sure that's really. I'm not sure that's what he really wants. Nick says, yeah, it's a PR thing. I'm sure he liked all better. I don't know. Not what he said. All right, that concludes our draft segment. All right, DJ, let's move on to the most profitable segment in all of sports, the feelings over facts, bets of the week. I will go first with mine because I think that one of mine is about to start here soon. I've got Sixers -3.5 against the New York Knicks. They close it out tonight in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid is playing at like 70%, I think. I think that they do not want to risk another game going back to MSG with Joel not being 100%. They want to wrap this series up tonight. They are going to throw everything at this game. -3.5 for the Sixers. I like that pick a lot, honestly. The next pick I'm picking with my heart instead of my head, and that is the Nashville Predators money line. It's about even money tomorrow night against the Canucks. The Predators have been winning this series. I've watched pretty much every single game. They've been winning the series for the majority of it. I still feel like they are the better team, and I just really, really, really want them to win. So Predators money line tomorrow night, and then also tomorrow night, Mavs -7.5 against the Clippers. The Clippers lost at home last night to the Mavs, where Luka just stole their heart and had an unbelievable game with a gimpy knee. I think pretty much just ended the series. I don't think the Clippers have anything left in them. Kawhi is completely checked out. Mavs -7.5. They beat the Clippers by 20 tomorrow night. Those are my three bets of the week. DJ, on to you.
Well, my bets of the week have all to do with the Premier League. I was feeling Premi this week. So first one, I went all money lines. I'm not going to get too overly complicated. I went Nottingham Forest because they have to have this game. This is a game against Sheffield United. It is on the road, but you got to win games like this, especially if you're trying to stay up this year. This is a must-win for Nottingham Forest to stay up in the Premier League. They have to win this game because they're not going to. Where else are you going to get points from this year? Like, this is the worst team in the league right now. You have to go on the road and win this game. So I have Nottingham Forest money line because it's a must-win. Next one is technically kind of an upset. Home dog. Love a home dog.
Ooh.
We'll see a lot more home dogs in college football whenever that comes back up.
Yep.
From me. But I'm going Crystal Palace over Man United. Man United have just keep foddering off, and Crystal Palace have been surprisingly really good this last month, I feel like. So I'm going Crystal Palace at home, upsetting Man United on a money line. And then this one is kind of just a feeling. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that in a West London derby between Brentford and Fulham, that the upset is going to be by the Road Dogs. Fulham coming to Brentford and upsetting the Bees on the road. I like how Fulham's been playing the last back end of the year. I feel like they've had some games where they've played really, really well. So I can see this happening again. I got Fulham.
I like it. I like the Premi picks for the bets of the week. We will see how it does. Throw those three in a 3-team parlay and tell me what the odds are. I'll let you do that while I'm giving my feeling of the week. My feeling of the week this week is, with a championship this year for the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic moves in to my very coveted top 15 all-time NBA players. If Nikola Jokic can win a championship this year, and it'll be his second ring. He's going to win MVP this year. He'll be a 3-time MVP. He'll join Larry Bird, I think, Magic, and Hakeem is the other one that are the only players that have, plus LeBron and Jordan and Kareem also have more than 3. I think they all have 4. 3 MVPs. So with a championship this year, that's my feeling of the week. Jokic moves in to my top 15 all-time players. And my top 15 is not like a regular top 15. It actually has 15 players. A lot of times people are like, oh yeah, he's top 10, like Kevin Durant. He's a top 10 player of all time. And then you're like, oh, okay, like where is he in the top 10? Like who are the other players? They start listing them off. They're like, oh, LeBron, Jordan, Wilt, and then they get to the end of it, and there's no like Larry Bird or Hakeem or Shaq, and then you're like where's Shaq? And oh, I guess he's in there too. And then you come to figure out like they don't think KD's actually a top 10 player. But like Nikola Jokic is actually in my top 15 with the championship this year. That's my feeling of the week.
So what did you want me to ask? What did you want to ask me about the 3-leg parlay? Like the odds of it?
What are the odds of those 3 things happening?
Together? Plus 1107.
Whew. That's a nice bet right there.
Oh, thank heaven. Anyway.
1107.
My feeling, yes. Indeed.
Your feeling of the week?
Shout out back to Chattanooga on that one. My feeling of the week is that I still don't understand how Bo Nix is a first-round quarterback. I will never get over that. Even if he works out, it still won't make sense.
Draft happened a week ago, and you're still not over it.
Still dumbfounded. Can't believe it. Honestly, don't know what they're doing.
It's going to be a starting quarterback day 1 in the NFL as well. So get on board with that.
Get ready for Zach Wilson halfway through the year. Whenever Sean Payton gets annoyed with Bo Nix halfway through, I'm calling it now. Like that's my shot. Let's call him the shot.
Zach Wilson is gonna overtake Bo Nix at this point.
At some point in the season, they're going to be scrambling to figure out which quarterback they're going to play because they're both going to be bad. So it doesn't really matter.
That would be something to see for sure. All right. Thank you for listening to the Feelings Over Facts podcast. If you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube, head over there and give us a subscribe in the link in the bio of this, the description, goodness gracious, of this YouTube live is our Patreon. Show us if you want to support the podcast, you can support us over there on Patreon. Thank you once again for listening to the Feelings Over Facts podcast. I'm your co-host, Zach Simmons. He's my co-host, Daniel Jones, a.k.a. DJ. Good morning and good night.
Tell somebody you love them.